Hi, readers. Welcome to Novels with Nat. We are about halfway through the year, halfway through the reading year specifically. And so I wanted to sit down and do, I think it's called like the mid year book freakout tag. It's been going around for a long time on BookTube. And so I wanted to sit down and do it. I always love watching tags and making tags myself. Just to kind of reflect on the books that I've read so far this year, and then also to look back on this at the end of the year and see if there's any new favorites that I found or what might have changed. So I'm going to go through, I think there's like 13-ish questions, and I'll answer them and we'll talk about books for a little bit. So question number one is, what is the best book that I've read so far in 2025? I had a hard time choosing just one, but I think if I had to narrow it down to my favorite, it would be The Measure by Nikki Erlich. This book has just really stuck with me. This was this author's debut book, which to me is just like crazy that like their first book is like this good. And it's going to be one of my favorites of all time. I can definitely tell. In this book, we're following, it's sort of like a light sci-fi speculative fiction type of story. And basically, in this book, one day everybody wakes up and there is a box on their front step, and in the box is a string. And so they come to find out that the length of this string corresponds to the length of your life or how much life you have left to live. And it just follows multiple different POVs as they navigate this new information and how society sort of grapples with this and starts unraveling. And it was just so interesting. The characters are so, like, I was just really connected to the characters in this story. So far, this is my favorite book of the year. Question number two is the best sequel I've read. I was looking back at my Goodreads and I have not read a single sequel this entire year. I'm generally not really a series reader. I don't read very many series at all. I do have quite a few on the go though. I just have not been making any progress on them. I'm thinking to do a separate video talking about all of the series that I'm in the middle of, and if I'm planning on continuing them or not. So I have no answer for this one. I have not read any sequels. The third question is a new release that you haven't yet read, but you want to. I have a lot that I could say for this question, but I'm trying to just give my one top answer. For this one, I'm going to say Liv Constantine's newest book, which just came out. I think it's called Don't Open Your Eyes, Don't Close Your Eyes, something like that. I'm hoping to get to it very soon. I have it on hold at the library. I really love Liv Constantine's writing, so I'm excited for that one. I'll also link down below. I've done a video about anticipated releases for 2025, so basically any book in that video I'm excited to read. Question number four is an anticipated book that's not out yet, but you're looking forward to. This one, I would say I'm really excited for Holly Jackson's newest book, Not Quite Dead Yet. I don't like young adult books, generally speaking, but Holly Jackson is the exception. I just really like her writing and her stories, and they're always just really entertaining. I believe this book is supposedly an adult book or her first adult book, but I have heard people who have done like early reviews saying that it really does read like YA still, which is fine. So I'll see how I feel about it, but I always look forward to Holly Jackson's releases. And then the next question is biggest disappointment. This one, I have to say, was A Man Called Uwe. I had read Anxious People earlier this year, and it was outstanding. It was like 5 stars. I loved it. And so then I was like, okay, I see the hype that people have around Frederick Bachman. And so I went for another book. I ended up finding A Man Called Uwe in a thrift store, and I grabbed it, and I just really didn't enjoy it. I think I gave it 3 stars, probably was closer to a 2.5. I just didn't connect with the character or the story. I just found it like really boring. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case with any future books I try from him. I'm excited to try Beartown, but I was really disappointed with this one. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I definitely much preferred Anxious People. Okay, the next question is biggest surprise of the year. So I typically predominantly read mysteries and thrillers. I dabble in like sci-fi, horror, literary fiction. So this one was definitely out of my comfort zone, but it ended up blowing me away how much I loved it and how much I still think about this story. And that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I had not read it until this year, so I definitely was late on this one, but I'm so glad that I did. It definitely was a big surprise that I loved it this much, and I'm so glad that I read it, and I can't wait to read more from Taylor Jenkins Reid. The next question is my favorite new author that's either new to me or a debut author. And so for that one, I'm going to go back to The Measure. Nikki Ehrlich has definitely become one of my favorite authors. I read this book earlier this year, and then I just finished her second release, which just came out, and that was The Poppy Fields. I ended up loving it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I didn't love it as much as The Measure, but definitely still absolutely loved it. It's very similar in that it's like light sci-fi, speculative fiction. In this book, you're basically following a few different POVs of people who are traveling on their way to a place called the Poppy Fields. And it's essentially like a facility where you can go and they will be basically be put into a deep sleep for a month or a few weeks or however long it takes. And you're supposed to be able to sleep away your grief if you've lost a loved one or witnessed a horrific event. And it's supposed to just take away the weight of that. And so we're following people who have different circumstances as they make their way to this facility. I just loved it. I feel like it wasn't, there were a few things that I would have changed about it or that I had issues with, but overall it was 4.5 stars. So I definitely will be reading absolutely anything that Nikki Ehrlich comes out with. She's going to become like an auto read author for me. The next question is fictional crush or my favorite fictional crush. I honestly don't have an answer for this one. Again, I predominantly read mysteries and thrillers. I don't think there's any characters in mysteries and thrillers that would necessarily read as like crush worthy. So I don't necessarily have an answer. The next question is my favorite character from this year, and that definitely has to be from Project Hail Mary, the character Rocky. I think anyone that's read this book would probably agree that Rocky is just such an adorable character. I especially think if you've listened to the audiobook of this one, the narrator did an exceptional job of the character, just was like really animated and really brought the character to life. Yeah, Rocky's just amazing. I love it. I think that character definitely made this book for me. The next question is a book that made you cry. Um, I have never actually cried from a book. I don't typically get emotional to that extent when it comes to books or movies or anything in that sort of realm. But books that were emotional that I read this year, again, back to, I would say, The Measure and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Both of these were like really emotional reads, really pull on your heartstrings. So I would say either of these two. And then the next one is a book that made me happy. And for similar reasons as I stated before, I think the character Rocky in this one just made me laugh and made me smile so many times. It was just such a funny read, and you wouldn't expect that from like a really heavy sci-fi like this. But this book was just like I was genuinely laughing out loud reading this book. I had such a great time. So Project Hail Mary for that one. The next one is Most Beautiful Cover from 2025. Of the books that I've read, I would have to say that this one I would give to The Center. I'm just a sucker for like a floral, sort of ambiguous cover when it comes to any kind of fiction. I really gravitate to like books of this style. The book, however, I didn't love. I'm just rating this purely on the aesthetic of the cover. This is like a horror novel. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine, nothing special, but the cover, 5 out of 5. And then the last question is books that I need to read by the end of the year. So for this one, I'm going to go from my sort of backlist books that I want to get to. Of course, I want to read all of the new releases that are coming out, but I have a few books on my backlist that I've been putting off for so long and have been sitting there, and I just need to get around to them by the end of the year, if not sooner. The first one is Daisy Jones and the Six. I read Seven Husbands and loved it, and I've really been wanting to read another Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this is the one that's kind of calling to me. I do find that I tend to put off books, not because I'm not excited about reading them, but if they have like a TV show or like a movie adaptation, I tend to put them off because I'm like, I want to read it when I know that I have the time to sit down and watch the show afterwards, and I should just read the book. Like, I don't have to wait till I have like a lot of time free on the weekend to binge a TV show. Like, I can just read the book and get to the show whenever I get to it. So I definitely want to get to this one. The second one I really want to get to is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. I have read all of this author's backlist so far, except for this one. And I really want to get to this one first because I also want to read his newest release, which just came out like earlier this month, King of Ashes. So I really want to get to this one first and then King of Ashes so I can kind of read it in publication order. So this one I want to read really soon. Okay, so that's it for this tag, the mid-year freakout tag. Let me know in the comments what are some of your answers to any of these questions. I would be really curious to know. I'll also link down below. I've done 2 other videos, sort of mid-year wrap-up type content. I'll link those down below. I think I'm pretty much done for like mid-year check-in videos. But I'll link those 2 down below. Check them out as well. I think I did my top 5 and bottom 5 books of the year, as well as I went through all 50 books that I've read so far this year and said basically with a yes, no, or maybe if I would recommend them. So definitely check out those 2 videos. If you could subscribe to this channel, it would be amazing. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye.